It's okay. I just want to. Okay. So, how many of you work in startups? No, you shouldn't be shy. You should raise it even higher. Okay. Okay, great. Okay. Sorry. So I'm trying to find a common ground between enterprise and a startup. So 3 steps to start. In today's presentation, no answers. I'm sorry, no answers how to do it. But many questions. And these questions, you have to ask the enterprise should ask himself. Okay? So the first one is, how do we make our enterprise organization more innovative and willing to take risk? Nobody wants to invest in a startup very fast because the money will go and it won't succeed. And if the startup will go into debts, you will have to pay for it, right? It's very risky. And the second thing, but still you want this innovation, right? You still want to hook and work with startups. And the second thing is, we're living in a digital era. Of course, traditional industry are still very important, but many things are transferring into the digital era. Some already there, some will be there, and some will be in the future of future. And 3, how can we solve key business problems in the organization itself? Each organization, small, medium, or big, has problems, okay? We don't have to hide it. We all have problems in their organization. And how to do it in a very fast way and low cost. And I'll show you that startups can do it. How to create awareness of new market trends and emerging technologies. So, is any of you in the enterprise works in a biz dev position? Biz dev position guys? One, just one? So biz dev position guys looking for new markets, right? But most of the workers in the corporate doesn't look into new markets because they're focused on what they're doing. I'll show you that working with startups can help all the organization think more big. So step 1. Step 1 is to clarify your objective, right? Very important. And there are 4 main objectives that most organization, most enterprise have it. Okay? It's either rejuvenate corporate culture. Sometimes our corporate or our enterprise is too slow because the workers doesn't want to move. Sometimes you have a big brand in Japan. There's so many big brands. And they were very innovative 10 years ago. And in the world, everybody thought as, I don't want to say a name of a company, but thought about Japanese brands, the most innovative in the world. Now it's gone a little bit. Why? And we want to restore it. Expanding into future markets and solving bigger, I don't need to explain, it's very easy. So, let's talk about rejuvenating corporate culture. So the first question is, how do we make our organization more innovative and willing to take risk? We said, right? We talked. And how we can create internal awareness. We talked. So how do you do it? Okay? And how can working with startups can help this objective? So first is, when a worker from a company works with a startup, he feels there's a transfer of sharing information. And a startup doesn't focus only on this. He's looking in a bigger picture. And it's like, you know what's influenza? Okay. So it's like influenza, it's very contagious. So when you work with someone with a lot of passion, it transfers to you. Of course, not only biz dev guys, but also underneath and above. So this is very important. Okay, so startups works in a very lean way. Without no money, they can produce interesting technologies, right? Or with low amount of money. So sometimes when I show startups to big enterprise, they say, wow, how can two guys, 6 months, create this product? Sorry. Okay, so they will give you another approach. They will show you another approach that you haven't thought about. Also, as we talked before, you work in an enterprise, you work in a structured environment. And sometimes it's hard to see the future of things. Sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, sometimes. For a startup, he has to think about the future. If he doesn't think about the future, he doesn't have a future. So it's important for an enterprise to work with the startup not only because they want to invest, they want to buy, no. But maybe they can work together. So some of the big enterprises that are already doing it in the world, Dell is doing it. One of the objectives is Dell. Another one is doing it is Google. Okay? So let's go down, still, no answers. Just making you think, right? Just thinking. Innovating big brands. So innovating big brands is very important because Japan has many big brands. So why not use them? So the first thing is, again, how can a big brand recast itself to the digital era? Or how can we position our company as an innovation-driven company? And people, customers, love innovation. If you're innovative, people will buy your products more. Look at Apple. Look at Google. Of course, they're innovative. Or not. Look at the other companies. Sometimes it's not a very interesting product, but it's very innovative. I want it. It's also strategy. So working with startups, saying that I work with startups gives your brand a new flavor, a new taste, that your brand is also innovative. It's very important because it's image important, it's important for your customers, it can help increase sales. I can tell you that by publishing our hackathon in Israel, I don't have numbers, but people now see Subaru as a much more innovative way because they're trying to work with startups. This is very interesting. So Microsoft is doing it. Although Microsoft is very innovative, it's very important for them to stay. Telefonica and Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola? Well, how can Coca-Cola work with startups? Anybody has idea? What should Coca-Cola produce? Or how should they work with startups? So who think it's beverages, new beverages? Raise his hand. Drinks. Coca-Cola is making new drinks? No. No. Okay, so no. But Coca-Cola is one of the biggest brands in the world, if not the first, between the first and the third, right? And they understand that their brand is very old, sells a lot, it's very strong, but very old. And Coca-Cola works with many media in the United States, in the world generally, right? Like Warner Bros., Turner, and others. So if they can help their customers and work with startups, their brand would look also innovative. And it's very interesting because in Israel it works beautifully. And everybody, the best brand that works with startups in Israel, in my opinion, one of the best, sorry, not the best, one of them is Coca-Cola. Okay, next one, solving business problems. So it's very easy maybe to understand, but sometimes to solve business problems in the enterprise, supply chain, or problems with HR, sometimes developing solution together with the startup can be quicker, less risky. Yes, guys. less risky. Bring new technologies sometimes. You focused on one problem, but you saw it can solve two problems sometimes. And create new business models sometimes, just by working to solve one problem. And you can find for your enterprise new talents. Because we all know the statistics of startups, right? 95, 5, 90, and depends on the place, sometimes even bad. So if the startup closed, but you found a great person, you can hire him. And you get a very interesting, innovative guy in your company. It's another strategy. Guys, it's okay to say it. It's a strategy. So Coca-Cola is also doing it. For example, Berkeley in Israel opened a very big place. And Apple, yeah, very easy to say. So I just want to stop and ask you, who likes jazz here? Jazz. Jazz liking people, come on, don't be shy. Okay. So if you understand jazz, sometimes jazz, they make mistakes in the notes, right? Because they try new things all the time. In jazz, when you make a mistake, usually you find new way of music. It's same as technologies, guys. Same in technologies. Okay, so expanding to future markets, very easy to understand, right? With working with startup, you can expand to future markets and either expand business operations into new markets. Okay? Sharing economy, sometimes big corporates didn't understand that sharing economy is there, but working with startups, they understood that they can be there. Capabilities and agility, and NL, which is a big energy. Okay, it's not digital company. Energy company from Europe. Ford is doing it and opening a very big innovation center in Israel right now. And Citibank. Citibank is one of the best fintech innovation centers in Israel. Amazing, working very beautifully. Okay, so we talked about generally 4 objectives. Let's see if I'm on time. Have a time limit. So step 2 is what options? So we talked about objectives. Let's talk about action. Okay, action. So what kind of program, how can we do it? How can we do those objectives? Or what is the difference between those options? So the first one is one-off events. So Tomoko-san showed us before a hackathon and accelerator, right? So hackathon is an example of one-off event. Sharing resources, partnerships, investments, acquisitions. So let's talk about kickoff events. Kickoff events, and this is some of the things that we're doing as well, is exposing your employees to entrepreneurship mindset. Okay, and I'll explain. Provide new perspectives, foster external. Everything is written, you can read it. Just want to go to there. So the actions would be challenge prizes. So to do one event that's focusing on a problem in your company, and it could be a challenge prize. So in your company, the person who finds the solution will win a prize. And people will love it, believe me. Everybody wants to find and to be creative. Hackathons. Okay? Hackathons combines either a problem or a solution or even maybe something, a product that you don't utilize in your company, but asking people to help you utilize it. Okay? And I'll give you an example from Israel. Engineers love to solve problems. It's fun. And if you succeed, it fills you with a lot of passion. Okay? This is maybe, in Japan there's many hackathons as well. So Toyota, we did it with Toyota, we did it with Murata, and we did it with TIS, which is the second largest integrator of financial after Docomo NTT, if I'm not mistaken. So let's jump to sharing resources. This is another thing. What are the resources that we can share? Free tools. So corporate can give startups soft support. And what is soft support? Okay? It can be free or cheaper in access, and it can be access to services. You know what? What does an enterprise have that a startup doesn't have? Many things, right? Money is the most. But what is the most important thing for a startup, you think, besides money? Experience. Data. They want and need your data in order to become better, because I'm talking about technology-wise. Let's talk about AI, right? Deep learning. As long as you have more data in your machine learning, the machine would be smarter. And the startup has to work very hard to find this data, right? But if you come to him and tell this startup, take my data, use it for free, but I want to see the results. The startup will say, okay, why not? Let's do it. There you go. You got access to innovation. You didn't pay anything, but you're collaborating with a startup. Of course, it depends on the company. If it's an NEC company, a security-based company, it's difficult. But you can sign an NDA. It's okay, there's ways to fix it. So this is one more. Products. So I didn't know, I learned that in Japan, you have a secondary market for games, right? Secondary market. And some games, you don't use them. You just put them somewhere here, and it's there. But it's a resource, guys. It's something that you can use. And if you can give this game or resource or product to a startup to make it better, together with them, then you have a new way of business model. Co-working space is very easy. A great example in Japan, you can see a Recruit co-working space, which is a Tech Park Lab, right, in Shibuya. So you can see it's a different way. So they don't invest, they don't do it, but startup sits there. And when startup sits there, they have access to the startups. It's another way. So they're giving them a place to sit. So Berkeley's is doing it in Israel again, Ford, AOL. LOL is doing it very beautifully, which is Verizon, right? Business support. Business support is an example of incubators, which is enterprise connecting together with a VC, for example, and making an incubator. I hope you know what's incubator. Is it okay? Enterprise working with a VC and making it an incubator, corporate incubator. So they can give them more support. So it can be money, it can be much more. It's a much riskier solution, but it's a good solution as well. Look, you sometimes don't need to invest. You just give them a place to sit for free. And startups need a place to sit. Accelerator programs, the same thing, similar to incubators. I don't need to expand. Microsoft is doing it. Microsoft had a very big accelerator in Israel, and many startups after the accelerator were purchased by Microsoft. Citibank is in, and Intel. Intel is the same thing. Intel and Microsoft are competing. Which one is better? Okay? Partnerships. So partnerships is also a lean way to work, which is either to take startups and to tell them, let's develop together new product. Again, if it's a security company and you don't want to share information, guys, we have lawyers. Lawyers can write NDA. And if the NDA is not good, you have LOI. There's many ways to solve those problems, and it's legal. And believe me, startup will sign it. Okay? They want to work with you guys. Licensing products. So you can either license the product or just do a pilot. And if it works good, you license the product. Very easy. You don't invest in the startup, but you tell them, okay, I'll give you a chance. I'll give you a chance. So in Japan, I think the image, and for real, the quality is very important if I compare to other markets. Quality is one of the most important things. So when you meet with a startup, you say, show me your quality, or show me how you can do it. What is your quality? Show me the demo. Sometimes it's not so good, but it's very interesting. And then what usually the big corporates say, come to me after 6 months. After 6 months, no startup. It closes. Then you don't have innovation. You don't have reach to the startup. You didn't accomplish anything. So, what do? You tell the startup, okay, let's do a pilot. 3 months, I'll give you give me your technology. Let's do a test, use case, with very clear KPIs. And you don't have to show it to all your customers. Take a customer that maybe is willing to adopt it. Talk to your customers. And the customers will be happy because you're helping them get innovation. And maybe if you have 200 customers and you ask all 200, maybe one will say, okay. So why not try? And if it works good, why not expand it to the next one? You don't have to straight away take it to everyone. You have to start small. It's okay. And then you don't lose the image of quality, but you get access to innovation. Okay, it depends on the mindset. Okay, some enterprises is still hard, some are very easy to do. It depends on the enterprise itself. And we're talking about corporate culture. So Recruit is doing it beautifully, also in different places in the world. Murata is doing it now in Israel, very good. And Murata, right, sensors company, very conservative company from Kyoto. But they're doing it. And if they can do it, you can do it as well. I'm not going to talk about this. Is anybody doesn't know this? Investment and acquisition, what does it mean? It's very easy to understand, right? I'm going to jump. It's interesting, but it's boring for me. It's a waste of time to talk about it. Because everybody knows the strategy, why we need to invest, why we need to acquire companies, right? Somebody doesn't understand? Let's talk later. Okay. Which is very important, okay? If you invest, I'll be very happy. Okay? We invest in our startups, and we want our startups to grow together with you. So if you invest, I'll be happy. So, this is a summary of some of the things that we talked. And you can see here the objectives, right? Rejuvenate, innovate, solve, expand, and the actions. One-off events, sharing resource, partnership, investment, acquisition. A is the strongest, B is the middle, and C is the lowest. Okay? We can talk about it later, but I'm short with time, right? Where's the clock? What time is it? What team? あとどのぐらい？あと10分。あ、OK。じゃあまたちょっと Q&A じゃあ大丈夫。Okay. So step 3. So we talked about objective. We talked about action. Now we need everything starts where? Money or resource. So I want to talk about resource to do it. How can we do those actions, okay? And I'll show you, it doesn't cost so much. You don't need to allocate a huge amount of budget and to go to the CEO and tell them, or to the board members and tell them, oh, I need $1 million for investment. Oh, there's no need. There is a lighter style. And the first one is cash, right? Everybody knows that the resource is money. But it's less interesting. Let's talk about employee time. How about allocating one person or two people from this to work with startups. Same salary, same time, new approach to innovation. I know it sounds easy. I know that HR is very difficult in big enterprise, but it's another resource. Your workers' time is a resource. 3, products. Sometimes, as I talked about the gaming industry, right? It's just example. In a gaming industry, again, you have a product that you don't use. It's a resource. Why not utilize it? Like sometimes you have Japan, I spoke with a very big enterprise about the car industry. And they told me that in the year around 2000, I'm not applying to Subaru because I'm talking with many automotive car makers, okay? So, and they told me that a long time ago, they already had a semi-autonomous car. Yes, they already had it. But they didn't use it up until now again. Because the market and the regulation wasn't ready. So I think if you look at your enterprise, you will find more. Maybe. And then you can take this innovation or technology or product and bring it out. Take it out of the closet, right? Take it out of the closet and see how you can give it to startups and work together with the startup to create new product. So you create new revenues, new business models. Maybe, I don't know, but it doesn't cost you money. I mean, less money than you expect. So in terms of risk, it's a very low risk. If you invest or buy a company, it's a higher risk, right? If you just take something that you don't use and give it to a startup together, risk is similar. 4, intangible assets. So this is very interesting. Most of the startups, especially in Israel, doesn't have one thing. What is it? What do you think in Israel? They have many things, but one thing they don't have. Exactly. He said market, and he's right. In Israel, we don't have market. I mean, you can be a local company, but for me, someone who works in a VC incubator, I'm looking at the global world, or a big market. I don't want a small 6 million local startup, right? I mean, it's okay. I'm not saying it's not good. It's okay. But we want bigger. So, if you come to Israel, tell them, let me help you with market access. Let me help you, or for example, not only to Japan, many Japanese corporates has access to different places in the world. You have an amazing infrastructure everywhere in the world, right? You have headquarters in Europe, you have headquarters in America, in Latin America, Australia, everywhere. If not for you, you have a partner over there. So you have an amazing access to those markets. Even if you work with an early stage startup, to give them access to those markets, they would be very happy. You don't have to invest. I didn't say investing. I didn't say acquiring them. Utilizing your infrastructure and to get information about them. So telling them, I'll help you, let's do revenue share. Or if it's not so good startup, let's try this market. Or maybe just a small market to see how it starts. And the risk is still lower. So, some of the things you already know probably, okay? So I'm just repeating them. You need to remember them again. Sorry. So this is summarize everything here, okay? So over here, okay, this is the corporate underneath, the enterprise. Over here, it's the startup. So this is sorry, this is start, this is a corporate, and here is limited resources, high usage of resources. Okay, so let me go back. So we talked about free tools. We talked about competitions, hackathons, and so on. You see, you can work with startups very easily. And, of course, co-working space, accelerator, and incubators, it means that it doesn't mean this is not risk. This is just high usage of resources, okay? It means that here, you can allocate, I don't know, what, $500K, and for a few $1 billion company, it's usually relatively low. Let's put things in order. And you can make a very interesting place, different places of innovation to get this innovation in a cheaper way. And acquisition and investments, why it's not here? It's supposed to be here, right? Because you use a lot of resource, but it's here. And I'll give you an example of a very famous company that works in Israel. And I'm going to show you a strategy of a big company in Israel. It's not Israel, it's an American. And she just bought something very big yesterday. Not yesterday, but recently. So what they're doing, they have a small place in Israel. Not a big, very small. And they invest in startups, not in their business, not in their core business, in other things that they thought maybe it would be the future. But how much money do you think they invest? Come on. How much money do you think they invest in startups? $50K, okay? It's not a lot, it's not a huge amount of money, especially for a company that purchased in a few billions another company. So they have a portfolio of about 20 startups. They're not leading rounds, no round leads. They don't take board seats. They don't take anything, just shares and access to information. So when the startup grows, then they can decide what they do. Either to buy the startup, or either to work with the startup. But gaining access to this information, you get access to maybe information that you never had. Now, how many is 20, well, it's what, $1 million? 500? It's nothing. And you gain access to this structured chaos innovation. It's a process which is closed, but it's a bit chaotic because you don't know what's going to happen, right? So this is an example of an investment, but in a very light way. And if you come to the startup, and this is very important, this is my last thing and I'll finish. Yeah, finish, yeah. One small thing, when you work with startups, it's not big company. If you buy a startup or you invest in startup, you don't need sometimes board membership. You don't need veto rights. Because if you come to Israeli successful startups and ask those things, they will say no. I have an American company that doesn't ask me, why should I work with you? You have to think more light. So thank you very much for listening. If you have any other questions, we'll have a panel discussion, and later on we can drink beer together and talk. I hope you understood. It's quiet. I can't ask if you can understood, but thank you very much.